This is Suit Up Sports.
Suit Up Sports.
Where opinions are as sharp as a tailored suit. No fluff, no gimmicks, just unfiltered, hard-hitting takes on sports and a whole lot more. It's time to suit up. Now here's your host, DJ the Suit Stout.
Welcome to Suit Up Sports. I'm DJ the Suit Stout, along with 10-year NFL vet Frank Garcia. Frank, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing really well, and looking forward to breaking it down and getting into these games and great games taking place and great games still ready to come. And looking forward to talking to some of our guests tonight.
Well, we said Monday that starting on Thursday, keep your livers ready because it was going to be 5 days of hopefully great football, and we now know that we've got one team in the national championship, and it was probably a team that 99% of the public would not have bet at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And Miami they're legit. And it's funny because the first couple weeks of the season, you and I both were like, man, these guys are as good as they get. And then they had a dip, and man.
Well, their defensive line, when they played Notre Dame early in the season, I made the mention is that this is like the old U. They're back.
Yeah.
And this defense was fast. They were physical. And they got after Notre Dame first game of the year. And, they repeated that a couple of times. And I'm like, these guys are the real deal. And it's the reason why they're still playing tonight or last night is because of, what they were able to do defensively. I know that you got to give, Ole Miss a lot of credit for hanging in there. And, but Miami really probably shot themselves in the foot a couple of times. And, most likely could have scored, another touchdown or two.
Yeah, I mean, they dropped 3, should have been interceptions. I think they had 11 penalties on the day. Carson Beck made himself a lot of money tonight because
he's 7 years into the league.
Well, just because he's 42 doesn't matter. All right. We saw Phillip Rivers come back.
That's right.
But no, he made himself some money. I mean, the dude just made plays when he had to. And we watched the game together. First of all, it's one of the best college games that I've seen in a long time.
Back and forth.
The fourth quarter itself.
Well, I mean, last 4 scores, every time somebody took the lead, the other team came back and answered with a touchdown. So
yeah.
A lot of scoring at the end, a lot of fireworks. And you got to give Miami all the credit for, hanging in there and figuring out a way because there was a couple of times they could have folded when Ole Miss went down and scored. And,
yep.
Towards the end with about 2 minutes to go, they went up 3 points and, they could have settled for the 3 points. But
yeah,
they kept the foot on the gas, and they got it done.
They did. I'll tell you what. Whoever they play, whether it be Indiana and Oregon, it should be a hell of a game. And speaking of Oregon, your old buddy Chad Cota, former Panther, former Duck at Oregon, is going to join us here shortly. Talk a little bit about the Oregon game tomorrow night.
Played for the Saints and the Colts. We won't have to remind
and the Rams
and the Rams.
Right, you played with them at the Rams.
He came back to the Rams.
I think we have our places in Cabo. Thanks to you and him winning
it's thanks to him.
Yeah,
he's the one that invited me down a long time ago, and we've been going ever since. And now you're part
you introduced us to it,
and part of that family, and it's just a great opportunity for all of us to kind of get back together once a year and get our families together and go down there and visit.
Yeah, I mean, I think you used some of the money from the NFC Championship that you guys got, and imagine what that would be now compared to then. You would have had like a mansion down there, Back then it would have been a whole different ball game, and still it turned out great. But yeah, Chad will join us here shortly, talk a little bit about the Oregon game tomorrow night, as well as reminisce a little bit about the Panthers, because obviously the Panthers have the biggest game they've had since 2017 when they were in the playoffs the last time, lost to the Saints. And I know that this week there's been a buzz in Charlotte. Like everywhere you go, I've been seeing more Panther gear, more Panther sweatshirts, more Panther hats. Everybody's fired up.
It's been a long time. There's been a lot of downs and a lot of failures and a lot of missteps and new ownership. And, are we going to Rock Hill? Are we staying here in Charlotte? There's been so much that have transpired in the last, 8-10 years with, this organization. And they really, to be honest with you, haven't sniffed the playoffs in the last 8 years. So the fact that they're getting in with a losing record this year, I think a lot of people are going to be able to accept that. Even though we backdoored our way into it.
No question.
Unfortunately, I think we're playing one of the better teams in the NFL right now, even though they're having to travel from the west to the east, and that's the Rams, another former team of mine. But, this Rams team has a potent offense, and they have a young defense, and they're traveling here to Charlotte. I think the Panthers, can give them a game, but they almost unfortunately have to play a perfect game in order to get it done.
Yeah, and I've got some some keys to the game and some things that I think if you want to paint a picture that you think the Panthers have a really good chance in, that I think will help you feel better about it. Because I think everyone, for the most part, especially if you watch any of the shows on national TV or read any of the analysts, everyone's picking the Rams. Most people are picking them to cover. So,
I remember being a big favorite, when I was with the Rams.
Yeah, that's
right.
This
isn't the first time they've been double-digit favorites going into the playoffs.
And against the Panthers.
And against the Panthers as well. I mean, the last time I think the biggest spread in Super Bowl history was the Rams versus the Pats in 2001. And we were 14-point favorites going into that game. And that's where Tom Brady became Tom Brady. And, obviously we know what took place after that. But, this isn't the same team that
Chad was on that team too, right?
No, he was not on that team.
Okay.
He was on the following year.
Gotcha.
He was still with the Colts at that point, but he came over that next year, and but he has a lot of playoff experience.
Oh yeah,
and he has one of the biggest plays in Panther history.
No question.
Interception that actually clinched our opportunity here at home in 1996 to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers when we intercepted Cordell Stewart on a bang play.
He
ends up ripping it out, and our fans go wild. But it gave us a home game, and it clinched the division for us.
And we whooped the Cowboys that week.
And that was the next week.
We whooped them.
The Cowboys came into town. They didn't realize where Charlotte was at, and if you remember, what they were talking about, and this was the defending Super Bowl champs Cowboys. This wasn't the Cowboys that we're seeing today. This was the last time they were relevant, and they haven't won many playoff games since.
Well, if you remember that game, and I was there, that was the game that both Deion Sanders and Michael Irvin, I think, got carted off. Like, we were not messing around that game, and the fans were great. And
Chad had an interception that game. I think Brett Maxey had an interception that game. Sam Mills had an interception that game. And you're right. It was a close game, but we sealed it late. And Sam Mills got that interception late in the game, took the knee down, and we ended up winning our first home playoff game ever here in Charlotte in 1996. That's a long time ago, 30 years ago.
Long time ago.
A lot of gray hair since then.
Yeah.
A lot of wounds on our bodies, and kids and life has happened in those 30 years. But it's been a wild ride here in Charlotte, and thankfully they're back in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, like I said, I was at that game, and the fans, the crowd was so loud and so electric. You got the Cowboys coming into town and talking smack, and we laid the smack to them. And we're
stars everywhere. Mel Gibson in the crowd
everywhere.
He came down to the sideline. You saw all sorts of different celebrities, and Charlotte hadn't really experienced something like that with the football team.
No doubt.
The Hornets, were kind of the first, big thing here in Charlotte. But when the Panthers came to town in our second season, we were able to get to, that game and, beat the Cowboys. But it was the who's who. Everybody was here, and that was the game of the week. And, they quickly found out, where Charlotte was after, the coach decided to say, where's Charlotte? I've never seen it.
Yep, no doubt. And I tell you, we're going to need that same kind of crowd this week against the Rams. The weather looks like it's going to be dicey. There's chances of rain and even lightning. But I tell you, I have no doubt that the fans this year, when we've had some big games at the stadium, especially against teams that don't bring half the crowd, which is not going to be the case this time, I have no doubt that the crowd's going to be fired up and ready to roll. And
tickets are sold out. I mean, if you have normal price tickets, it's the first time, like I said, with a long time, that you're upselling tickets. So there's a lot of buzz, a lot of enthusiasm, and it sounds like even there might be a little bit more excitement and buzz before the game starts when Cam Newton is expected to appear to pound the drum. And gosh, I mean, we had opportunities to go, both you and I did, but at our age and what the setup you have, and being here at the Stout House with all the food and all the drinks and all the beverages we're going to have flowing, this is going to be just as good as environment. We'll have all the guys here, and we'll have a great time. But Cam Newton pounding that drum, when you're there and you're feeling that vibe, and you're smelling the smell in the air, it's playoff football, and Cam Newton's going to start off, and I can't wait to see how electric that crowd's going to be.
I'm so glad, and we had talked about this a couple shows about they have to have Cam if we make the playoffs, bang the drum, and I'm so happy that they have him coming back, because when the Panthers re-signed him a few years ago, we were playing the Redskins, I believe, and I went to the game because I just wanted to see Cam, and I tell you what, when he ran out of that tunnel, it was the loudest, most electric Panther crowd I've ever seen in my life. Now, unfortunately, he didn't play that well that game, but still, when he comes out of that tunnel and walks to that drum, the crowd is going to be nuts. And if that can't, as a player, and I'll ask you, you're a player, if you were in that situation and a maybe the best player ever in the history of the organization, if not, he's top 3, comes walking out after not really doing much with the franchise for years, and he comes walking out and the crowd goes crazy and he beats that drum as a player. And I know you're already fired up as a playoffs, right? So you don't need a whole lot more to fire you up, but does that give you a little more like, holy crap, let's go, look at this crowd, they're loud?
I think the crowd would be more I'd be more affected by the crowd noise, the environment. Players aren't really concerned about all the noise that's going on. Great Cam's going to be there. He's going to be, probably giving the motivational speech and, things like that. Some players, may take that and it may light it, but it's not going to make me play any harder. It's not going to make me do anything different.
Right.
I'm always going to try to play as hard as I can. And I think this is going to be a really good experience for a lot of these young players, because until you understand and realize what this means, because you haven't experienced, you really don't know what it means.
Right.
And, the difference between the preseason and the regular season, it ramps up a notch. The difference between regular season and the playoffs, it's another notch or two, because everybody is leaving it on the field because it's lose or go home. And guys are going to play through injury, and guys are going to sell out. They're going to play to the whistle. They're not going to be loafing. And, ultimately the better team most of the time is going to win because, of the talent that they have. And, the more experience you have with that, which the Panthers don't have much, unfortunately, it's going to take a little time for them to adjust, because the Rams have a lot of experience, with that. They have
they won a Super Bowl a few years ago. Yeah.
Quarterback. They have a team that's been there. Not all those players have been on that team, but a lot of those players have been in the playoffs. So a lot more than what we have. So it'll take a little bit less time for them to, kind of settle in. And, once you start getting those first couple of hits, but, expect the unexpected. Guys, unfortunately, sometimes they get nervous. Things start happening fast. They drop passes. They throw the ball before it's supposed to be thrown. They drop passes. Things of that nature sometimes happen. I hope those things don't happen for the Panthers, but even for the coaching staff, right? Things are going to happen differently for them. The timing of everything, the magnitude of everything is going to be a little bit, more ramped up, and it's going to be good for the Panthers in the long run, but it's going to be hopefully not too tough sledding for them to start, but it's definitely going to be a difference for them.
Well, we talked about this Monday as well. The fact, I don't care if they backed in or not. Like I said, we've arrived earlier than we thought we would. And the fact that we are going to get the experience that you just described and have that under our belt, regardless of the results of this game, to me is a huge step going into next year. And we know that we have holes to fill, and we know that there's questions about the Panthers, that whether it be linebackers or receivers or quarterback, whatever the case may be, but these guys are at least going to have some experience that not many teams get at this time of year. And we have 11 rookies that play, and we have all these kids on the team that haven't been in the playoffs before. So I can't wait. And, again, as I'm looking at the game and I'm trying to find reasons to say, okay, you know what? The Panthers have a really good shot here. Yes, we already beat them once, right? So people go, well, you beat them once, there's no way you're going to beat them twice. And I say, okay, you're right. It's hard to beat any team twice in one season, much less a team like the Rams, who are going to probably have the MVP at quarterback. They've got 2 possible Hall of Fame receivers. They've got good running. They're loaded. But one of the things that a lot of people, I think, haven't realized is that the first time we played them, we had no J.C. Horn. We had no Morrig, and Morrig has been a stud. He was out because the game before that, he hit a dude in the nuts at the end of the game. He got suspended. We didn't have Bozeman, and you and I have both been critical of him at times, but he is our leading tackler, and he's definitely better than what we have behind him. We had no Hunt, and Hunt now, Canales came out and said he's going to play. So now we just added our Pro Bowl guard back into the fold, and Austin Corbett has been dicey, so that's a major upgrade. So we're adding 4 players that we didn't have the first time we beat them. And then the rain to me, as a fan going to the game, like, oh man, it's going to rain. There could be lightning delays and all those things. But I looked it up, and Matt Stafford played the majority of his career at Detroit in a dome, and then in LA in a dome. And so I just was curious how he's done in the rain. And he's 1-6.
Is LA in a dome?
Yeah. I had to look that up too, because it's a clear roof.
Retractable?
It's not retractable, but it's clear, so it doesn't look like a dome. And he's 1-6 in the rain, and so
1-6.
1-6. So with a 57% completion percentage. Bryce, on the other hand, and they pointed this out. The announcers when we played Tampa last week pointed out that Bryce has done very well in the rain in his career, not just with the Panthers, and he had a good game as far as throwing the ball. So,
and he also has experience with a couple weeks ago. Or last week, as a matter of fact, playing against Tampa.
Yep.
And if that has any kind of bearing on this game, that'll at least have them prepared, because they were used. I'm not saying they're used to, but they have now had a game under their belt playing in those type of conditions at Tampa. That was. I don't know if you saw the.
It was a monsoon.
We were sitting here watching. It was just a steady, poor monsoon.
Yeah.
Where, it's not, the hard part is not, kind of dealing with the rain and things like that. The wet balls are going to be a little difficult, but it's seen. Right?
Yeah.
When you look up into the sky to see a ball coming down and you're getting pelted with rain and you're trying to find the ball, those are the hard things that, you get maybe a little bit more used to, or at least you can adjust a little bit sooner if you've had that experience. And that's where the Panthers may have a slight edge with that, but not to poo-poo
still
an
uphill battle.
Not to poo-poo on the party. It's a big uphill battle, because all the things that you talk about are great, right? We're going to have our full roster, but they're also going to have their full roster.
They are missing their very good right guard, which is good for us, but they also get their safety Lake back, and he's a beast.
Yep.
So,
and if we remember how that game played out, and the Panthers won a close one.
Yep.
Everything went right for the Panthers. If you remember the tip pass off of Derek Brown's head that was going to hit Devontae Adams right in the chest, wide open, would have been a touchdown.
Yep.
End up being an interception. Pick 6.
Yep.
Right. Near our own 20-yard line, 30-yard line, Stafford throws an out route. I think it was Michael Jackson that makes it to the house on a pick 6. And then finally the third blow, which was Stafford going in to score again, another fumble. So 3 critical turnovers, which are game-changing type of plays, and the Panthers were barely hanging on to try to win that game. Those games were the touchdowns would have been momentum swinging games.
Oh, no doubt.
They would have been two score leads where you kind of have to start thinking about changing your game plan a little bit to try to keep up. But that's what the Panthers are going to have. They also ran the ball for 150 something yards.
Yep.
They were very efficient running the ball, and that's what you're going to have to do in a rain game. No turnovers, run the ball 30 plus times, win the field position battle, win the kicking game, win the turnover battle, and just try to be efficient, and then cross your fingers and hope they don't outscore you.
Well, the running game, like you said, the first time we played those guys, we ran the ball pretty well. I think Chuba had 85 yards. I think Dowdle had like 65 or something.
80 and 70 or whatever it was, right?
And the Rams ran the ball well. I think they had 160 yards, something like that, against us. So we're on a text strain. And I texted you today. I said, look, I know I'm not telling anybody anything that they don't know, but we have to run the ball and we have to stop the run. And you replied saying that's the
key ingredient to any football game.
And it is, but in this instance, it truly is. And we haven't run the ball in the last 4 games. We've been awful running the ball. Hopefully having Hunt back helps that. And hopefully Dowdle's legs are fresh, whatever the case may be, but we got to run the ball against this defense. And they've got a great defensive line. They've got fast linebackers and Lake's back.
And you have to score touchdowns when you get in.
No doubt.
Right. I mean, those are the factors. I mean, I could give you 6 or 7 key ingredients. I think I wrote them down for you, but these are the key ingredients to any football game, right? There's about 6 or 7, maybe a little bit more with the analytics now that you look at. And, winning the turnover battle, running the ball 30 plus times, not turning the ball over, winning the field position, winning the kicking game, having explosive plays, having 2 more than the other team. All those have to factor into that. But now with the analytics, you're probably going to add some more. Is it scoring touchdowns in the red zone? You have to be efficient. The other one is third down conversion. You have to be near 50%.
Which the Panthers have been good at this year.
But if you combine all those up and you can win a lot of those stats, you have a very good chance to win the game. And the reason being is because not only are you controlling the clock, you're being efficient, you're not turning the ball over, and you're going to kind of control the outcome. Hopefully the Rams, allow us to do that. Maybe they, have a couple of drop passes, tip balls, whatever it might be. But in order to keep that offense off the field, because to me, they're the most explosive offense in football.
No doubt.
At least one of them.
I mean, dude,
when you
Stafford threw 5 touchdowns against Seattle, who is the best defense in the league, probably.
6 touchdowns this season. Damn near 5,000 yards. He's having he's the MVP.
Yeah.
Right? He's the MVP. And he's having an MVP type season. The interesting stat or thing to look at, when you look back into the history of the top offenses in the NFL, how many have gone on to win the Super Bowl? Not many.
Not many. It's the defenses usually, right?
The defensive teams, the top defenses are the ones. But the most balanced teams ultimately are going to be the ones to win Super Bowls because of what we're seeing with the Rams traveling. The offense sometimes doesn't carry over or transition when you go up to the cold weather or you play in rain or you play in a field that, might be slower than what you're used to or accustomed to, right? You play away on the road and you have to score more than the opponent. It's hard to score on the road.
And the crowd noise, by the way.
Because you can't hear. Exactly. So, all those things factor into, these things. And that's where a lot of times you have to rely on your defense and why the offensive teams don't win Super Bowls very often. I think there's only been 1 or 2, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to remember who those offensive teams
I would say
were.
probably San Fran was probably one of them.
I'm talking like in the last 30 years. The Rams didn't.
Yeah.
When we were the top offense, we didn't win. Maybe the Rams in 99, they might have done that. I think they might have been the number 1 offense in the league. But like I said, it's not very often. I think Indianapolis, when they won, the Patriots, when they won one of those years might have been, but I think that's about it.
Yeah, defense normally travels well too, as you said. And you talked about a perfect game that the Panthers have to play, and obviously turnover battle's huge, running the ball is huge, stop the run's huge. But the first time we played the Rams, Bryce was very efficient, 15 for 20. And he was 2 for 2 on 4th downs for 87 yards and 2 touchdowns. So on 4th and short,
big plays,
plays, right?
It's the explosive plays on third and medium, third and long, third and short, or 4th down, where you're going to kind of separate yourself from the other team.
Yeah, I think the Panthers, at least I hope, at least keep it close to the end. Let's see, because another thing you talked about with the rain and how playing in Tampa may be at a little advantage to the players because they just got a game under the belt last week doing that, is that with Canales, and we talk about him every week about how he's getting experience every week. I know where you're
going with this, right?
And so after last week's game, he hopefully has learned that
you can't run a flea flicker
with
a wet ball.
Correct.
Right?
Don't kick a 53-yard field goal.
53-yard field goal into the wind with a medicine ball.
Correct.
Because it's 45 pounds.
No doubt. And we always say that it seems like Canales is a game behind. And so just like when we couldn't run a quarterback sneak because Bryce is too small, and we said, why don't we use a tight end? And I was like, well, Mitchell Evans from Notre Dame. Yep. And they did it the next game. So I think Canales and the experience he got last week in the rain will help him. Now, look, Sean McVay's probably top 3 coach in the NFL. I'm sure he's coached many games in the rain.
And he's also coached many teams in the playoffs.
Yes.
What's going to factor into that more? Is it going to be the rain for the Rams, or is it going to be the lack of experience in these type of games, these playoff games for the Panthers? And, ultimately I would lean towards the lack of experience and having a young head coach with a young quarterback,
young team
and a young team. But they have the formula. They have the ingredients to, and we've seen it once. But the likelihood of seeing that again, I think, is very slim. And beating a really good team who might be the best team in the NFL this might be they might end up being the Super Bowl champs.
No doubt.
The team that's coming here to Bank of America on Saturday night that we watch right in front of our own eyes. But a lot of football left, and I know there's a lot of things that can happen, but we're definitely climbing an uphill battle against the Rams.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's why they're a 10.5 point favorite or underdog. And look, Panthers, another, again, if I'm glass half full, Panthers suck when they're the favorite. So keep us the underdog. Well, I don't know about 10.5. I'd rather be 3.5 or 2, but we don't want to be a favorite. We play better when we're not. So, look,
I don't know how many times the Panthers been favored this year. Once
and we lost against the Saints. Yeah.
Against the Saints.
And we don't want to be favored again. And by the way, we won't be favored again this year, regardless of who we play.
That's right.
So let's.
I mean, the odds are stacked against us. I think I think we're 10,000 plus 10,000 to bring home a trophy.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a conspiracy theorist, right, and you believe in the conspiracies that exist and those types of things, there's a lot of things that people are looking at predicting, but the Panthers are destined to go to the Super Bowl this year if you believe in the conspiracies that are out there.
Well, if you believe in the conspiracy theories, you would think that the market of LA, the NFL would want a lot more than the market of Charlotte. And if you're a conspiracy theorist, you would also believe and hope to God that the referees that we had in Tampa don't show up in Charlotte tomorrow or Saturday.
Well, yeah, and that's, I think, that's the thing that, I think that I'm most concerned about, if I'm honest, is that, like in the NBA, I'm a Suns fan.
Yep.
You're a Hornets fan.
Yep.
We know what getting the short end of the stick looks like in a small market, right? And when you're playing a team from LA who has the MVP, who has two of the best receivers in the league, who has one of the largest markets in America.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe next to New York, the West Coast market, they're going to want the ratings to win, right? And what that means is they don't necessarily are going to try to, make it a blowout because they want people to continue to watch. But they definitely, if you're talking about television ratings, they're definitely wanting the Rams, not the Panthers in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I believe I read that the referee crew that we have for this game, I want to say the Panthers are 1-6 with this crew, including the head referee was the head referee of the Super Bowl when we lost to Denver. And that was still a catch. I don't give a damn what anybody says. Cotchery caught that ball, but we'll see.
He also did not fall on that ball either.
Well, that's true. Hopefully he holds a drumstick better than he did that ball. But bottom line is this: we're fired up. I know everybody's fired up, and we're in the playoffs. So let's see what happens. Let's jump to some other NFL games real quick. We'll finish with the Oregon Indiana game tonight. But Rams Panthers we talked about. But that's 4:30, only game in the country, right? So we're going to be in the national spotlight. But after that game, you couldn't draw up a better rivalry than what we've got with Green Bay and Chicago. Both teams hate each other. Both teams' coaches have talked a little smack during the year.
Have you watched these games that they've played?
I have, and Green Bay has dominated.
When you watch these games, when they were playing in the regular season, and you don't usually see this very often, but the chippiness that existed in those games – it was really like
playoffs.
It was like they hated each other.
Yeah.
And that's what rivalries have been like when we were growing up. It was, the Pistons versus the Bulls. I mean, those teams hated each other.
Steelers, Cowboys.
There was going to be foot pushing. There was going to be shoving. There was going to be fighting. There was going to be playing to the whistle. There's going to be a little extracurricular activities giving them the business.
Yeah.
Right. And, that's what you've seen in that game. And, I mean, it's really the black and blue division for a reason, and that's the game that epitomizes that because both teams, I think, are still trying to find themselves. And you got Caleb Williams on one side, and you got the Green Bay Packers and Love on the other side, and both those coaches are really still kind of trying to feel their way out because last year Green Bay had a great opportunity to make it, and I think they had some injuries and. Fell a little short with what Washington was able to do, making that big run. And, he got on fire, with what they were able to do there. So, this game, it should be a bloodbath.
Yeah.
And it should be one of those, those old school games where, you have, Dick Butkus coming out with no teeth and Ray. It's going to be a slobber knocker type of game.
Well, what also is going to be great about that game is they're expecting a huge snowstorm. And you remember, and you grew up in the West, so you might not relate to this, but in Charlotte we didn't get much snow, but when we did, the first flakes were falling, and you're on the phone with a 20-foot cable, calling your buddies to get outside and play football right away. Once it started snowing, you wanted to be out there and play football. And you go out there and you play, whether it snowed for an hour or whether it snowed 10 hours, you're out there playing football.
Toes are frozen, fingers are frozen.
Exactly. And this game, if the snow is what they're calling for, not only is it a great rivalry, but the fact that it's going to snow to me just adds to it. So Saturday is just going to be an unbelievable day of football.
I don't know if you remember the game a couple years ago. I think it was with the Philadelphia Eagles, where there was so much snow you couldn't see the lines. And everybody thought because of the snow, it was going to be a low-scoring game. Au contraire, mon frère.
Yeah.
Right? It was the exact opposite, because as an offensive player, I know where I'm going with the ball.
Yep.
Right. I know what the snap count is. I know that if I have a bigger line, then I'm able to push the defensive line around, and defensive players aren't going to be able to plant and react as quickly as what you would if you're playing in a wet surface or even, a turf or grass. So the offense has the advantage in the snow game. Everybody thinks it's different. In the rain game, yes, different. But in the snow game, the offense has the advantage. And the team that's able to run the ball more effectively or throw those little quick passes and try to get the defense to stop on a dime or reroute or slow them down will be the team that wins. And, I think that, a lot of teams are going to probably, the difference between like man coverage and zone coverage. The team that plays better zone coverage, it's probably going to benefit them because they can see and keep everything in front.
Right.
If you're used to playing man coverage and that's what you're built for, it's going to be a lot harder to do because all it takes is one slip and it might be a tutty.
Yeah. And Green Bay, to me, Chicago's defense has not been very good this year. So to me, if it does snow, and we'll get our picks later, I almost gave it away, but I think the snow actually favors Green Bay. But still, they get Josh Jacobs. He said he's feeling healthier than he has all year. The Bears get a Doomsday back. So both teams are coming in pretty much with all the bullets in the gun. So that should be a great nightcap.
When Green Bay loses their best defensive player, though, that kind of put a monkey wrench in what they were doing.
Yeah.
Right. Chicago, I think with Caleb Williams, and as we talk about the athleticism at the quarterback position, I think doesn't get nearly enough credit for his ability to escape pressure. And he does it so seamlessly, right? Effortless. And he just continues to gain ground and nobody can catch him. Look for that to be maybe the biggest difference in this game is the quarterback that's able to break, contain, and use his legs to the best of their ability to score as another runner might be the team that pulls ahead in this game as well.
Yeah, and Jordan Love's healthy, so that should be a hell of a game. 8 o'clock.
Jordan Love's a good athlete too, but I don't think he's as
athletic
as Caleb.
I agree with you, and that's the 8 o'clock Saturday night game. Sunday, another great game to kick off. You got Buffalo with Josh Allen going to Jacksonville. Buffalo's laying 1.5. Jacksonville's been on fire. Trevor Lawrence looks like the number one pick everyone envisioned him to be when he got drafted. Their defense is aggressive and fast. And then you got Buffalo coming in with Josh Allen, arguably the best player in the NFL. Dude just makes play after play. They've got the number one secondary in the NFL, but their run defense has not been very good. And they're playing in Jacksonville, and those fans are gonna be fired up. And I know you've played in that stadium. I've been for games at that stadium. It's not really, to me, that's not necessarily a home field advantage. But if they're ever gonna have one, it's gonna be this game.
What makes that more of the home field advantage is when you're going down there in September, October, and you're coming from a cold weather place like Buffalo would be, and the temperature down there is still 85 degrees, and
right?
The humidity's still kicking.
Yeah.
Right. And you can't breathe and you walk off the plane and you're in a swamp.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I don't think it's going to be quite that much of a difference.
82.
Listen, when you're coming from Buffalo, and it's negative and you're getting off that plane and it's 82 degrees, that's going to feel like it's a hot summer day.
Yeah.
And IVs are going to be flowing around and, the blood is going to be a little bit thicker and, the cramps are going to be a little bit more easy to come by. But I think the biggest difference in that game, and you said it, is Josh Allen. All the experience in the world. The guy he balls out when it comes to pressure situations. Are they going to be able to hold off Jacksonville's running game in that home field? Because Trevor Lawrence is having a great year.
Sure is.
He's quieted a lot of the naysayers. But ultimately, just like Bryce, this is really kind of his first playoff run. So, at the big boy level, I mean, when he was at Clemson, he made some, he was in some big games, and so was Bryce. But this is a different animal when you're going to the NFL, and everybody in the world's watching you. And it'll be interesting to see how he handles that pressure as well.
And if you're Josh Allen or a Bills fan, you look at this and you go, if there was ever a year we're going to win this thing, this is it, because there's no Lamar Jackson. There's no Pat Mahomes. There's no Tom Brady, whoever you want to name, all the big boys that
Mahomes has been their bugaboo, right?
Correct.
Mahomes has been the thorn in their side.
Yep.
And, them not being in the playoffs, you're absolutely right, DJ. I mean, I remember the game they played, 3-4 years ago. I remember where I was sitting because it was
great game.
It was just like what kind of we saw in the national or the semifinal game. It was really a little bit of scoring, and then boom.
Yeah.
You had the Kelsey pass, and you had Mahomes, and you had the return, and the stupidity and kicking the ball, and all the things factored into an explosive game. And that's the reason why they couldn't get past Mahomes, is because they were going to find a way to get it done. They don't have that problem this year. So you're right. If you're a Bills fan,
this has got to be your year.
You're thinking to yourself, hey, listen, I mean, we've been here. We're seasoned. We're tired of, being, the Cinderella story. And, we should be the favorites. Going into Jacksonville, I'm sure they have a little different story or the opinion of that. But it'll be interesting. If the Bills can get past Jacksonville, I think it opens things up for him to take a little pressure. I think the Jaguars will probably be one of the tougher games they play.
Well, I'll tell you this, again, I love my numbers. Buffalo hasn't won a road playoff game in over 30 years. In their last 5 playoff games, they've given up at least 30 points. So they're going to definitely have to tighten that up. And I think that if they do lose this game, I think McDermott, who I think is a very good coach, will be gone. And I think that that's the perfect landing spot for John Harbaugh. And we get
Buffalo.
Yes. You got a quarterback. You got, I mean, look, if he'd rather, what team that's out there that needs a coach is better than getting Josh Allen at quarterback and a great secondary and the best running back in the league, Cook, who just led the league in rushing. So if McDermott gets gone, if I'm Harbaugh and I'm sitting back like he is, he's not taking any interviews for over a week. He's sitting there wanting to see what happens in the playoffs. To me, if Buffalo does fire McDermott, if they lose this game, if you're John Harbaugh, that's the place.
I mean, Harbaugh,
new stadium.
Harbaugh is definitely going to be, the hottest commodity out there, and there are going to be people bringing Mack trucks, backing him up into, wherever he lives. And parking him there.
I saw that Sean Payton, I think, is making $18 million a year, and they're saying to get Harbaugh, it's going to be at least $18 million.
At least.
Yeah.
I mean,
should have coached. Damn it.
Harbaugh is, still a damn good coach.
Yep.
And sometimes just teams need, shakeups. And
yeah,
it wasn't because he wasn't doing a good job. I think he's the third most winningest coach in the last 15 years. With what he's done, and him and Tomlin. I think the Bills are 3, the Steelers are 4. I think Andy Reid is up there at 1, and I can't remember who the other one is, but they're right there.
Yeah,
Harbaugh has done everything he can to put himself in position to be one of the best coaches in the league, and it was unfortunate that
Luke missed that field goal.
What was unfortunate for the Ravens fan is that Lamar, I don't think was the problem either. He'd put his team in position. He had other kind of things that let him down. Mark Andrews drop and those type of things. But getting back to the Harbaugh, I just don't see Buffalo as a great fit. Nobody wants to go coach in Buffalo. You give me the you give me the Raiders, you give me a warm weather team, you give me the Dolphins, you give me a team like that. Let's see, Miami, Buffalo, LA, or the Vegas, or Buffalo.
But Josh Allen or Ewers, or Josh Allen or a rookie quarterback.
Well, you're also going to have the most cap space when you go to Vegas. You're going to have no taxes, or no state taxes, which is going to whatever $20 million a year is going to seem like a lot more than it would up in Buffalo and those New York taxes.
True.
So they would have to bring in the Brinks truck times 2 in order to match what a team in Miami with no state taxes. When you think about that type of money, you're talking about millions of dollars. Or Vegas, where they don't have to pay the state taxes.
Well, he's got a ton of money anyway, and I just have a feeling that if Buffalo were to lose this game, that would be Harbaugh's spot, but we'll see. Let's move on. San Francisco at Philadelphia. Philadelphia is laying 3.5. That's the 4:30 game on Sunday. San Fran has been bad on defense all year, mainly due to injuries. They have no Bosa. They have no Warner. And now they've lost guys that we don't even know their names that were starting. They've got 3 guys, I think, that have been on the team for 2 weeks. They're going to be expected to play at some point. You're going to Philadelphia. They rested their starters last week, which they did last year as well. You got Jalen Hurts, who has been as money as anybody in the league in the playoffs.
Getting your right tackle back.
Getting your Hall of Fame right tackle back. And so going to Philly, they're getting 3.5. Now, I know San Fran's offense has been great, and I also know that, and I think I sent you this stat as well, is that when Shanahan has played against Vic Fangio, which I think you played when he was at DC when
Dom Capers was fired.
Yeah, and so Shanahan against Fangio, I think, has scored 10 points, 12 points, 15 points. Like I don't think he's ever scored more than 16 points against them.
Well, Fangio's a very good coach, and when you look at what the 49ers are going to be able to do offensively. Christian McCaffrey is a difference maker. They have a couple of receivers that are stepping up big. They have a tight end that's capable of stretching the middle of the field. They have an offensive coordinator in Shanahan that can, dial up plays. This isn't the same team that he's, scored those 14-10 and 9 points against Fangio. He didn't have the weapons when he was there doing those things, but to your point, Fangio is it'll be a great chess match.
And they've got a great defense.
It'll be a great chess match between these two teams, between what they're doing and Fangio's with Denver right now. So
no, Fangio's the defensive coordinator for Philadelphia. No, he was with Denver. He was a coach there and he got fired.
Okay, so
yeah.
I mixed that. I knew he was in one or the other, but So that being said, I mean, it should be a great chess match. And you look at what Philadelphia has done in the last, couple of years. Like you said, AJ Brown, whatever's been going on and all the troubles they had in the regular season, maybe because of the coordinator, kind of getting out of there. But, Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley, they're going to be rested. They're going to be healthy, and they're going to have the biggest offensive line. They're going to have one of the better defensive lines. They got a great secondary. And, when you look at the teams in the NFC, how do you not pick them as the favorites being the champs?
I think that's the biggest blowout of the weekend. And again, I kind of just gave away my pick, but I think that'll be the biggest blowout of the weekend. This game, 8:00 Sunday night. And I know we're here in Charlotte and we got a lot of Drake May fans, and you and I, we've said it a million times, coach against the kid. We have nothing but respect for the kid, his family. I mean, that the athletes that Mark May has produced in that family and Mark May
national
himself.
champions.
Yeah. I mean, it's
a son that went to Carolina and
won national championship. Another son that was a pitcher for Florida. Yeah. I mean, the family's loaded, and Drake May has had a hell of a year. We talked about Stafford probably winning the MVP. If he doesn't, it will be Drake May. And the Chargers with Jim Harbaugh traveling there, they're missing 2 Pro Bowl offensive linemen, but they still have managed to win games. Their defense is legit. They're going to New England. They're getting 3.5 points. And again, I saw something the other day that said teams that play in domes when they have played in the playoffs, when the temperature's under 40 degrees, I think they're 1 of 14. But Jim Harbaugh has a system, and it's worked wherever he's been, regardless if it was in Michigan with snow, wherever he's been, and whether it was in San Fran. The dude just is a great coach, and regardless of the offensive line injuries they've had, they figured out a way. And Herbert has had a hell of a year, and
having to play the position of quarterback, I believe he's probably one of the best teachers of that position. When you look at what he did, with the kid from Michigan at Michigan,
McCarthy,
when McCarthy probably isn't good enough to be in the NFL.
Harbaugh made him a lot of money.
But Harbaugh made him a lot of
money.
Right? All he had to do was manage the game, make the throws when it counted, use the run to create the pass. Right? That's what Harbaugh, I think, does better than anybody. He understands situations. He knows that he's going to run the football at you, and you're going to have to stack the box to stop it. And when you do that, that's where he's going to utilize the play action and get mismatches in space. And he teaches the quarterbacks to understand, those dynamics. and slows the game down for him. And that's one of the biggest reasons I think he's going to be a great benefit to Herbert in the long run, and they're going to make a lot of money together. This is, I don't believe, their year. We talked about them at the beginning of the season, our surprise team.
Yeah.
What? They're Denver, another surprise team there. The only one that didn't make it that we thought could have would have been the Colts, and they got off to a straight.
If Daniel Jones didn't break his leg or whatever, Achilles,
they may be in there as well. So, when it comes to, what the Chargers are able to do, it's going to be, probably not this year. This seems to be the Patriots' year. He's got Drake May's got Tom Brady's blessing. Vrabel is a damn good coach as
Great
well.
coach.
And he gets these guys motivated. Very similar to what you saw with Campbell, with what he was doing with Detroit.
Yep.
Unfortunately, they've fallen short the last couple of years. But, the Patriots have Drake May, and they have a great quarterback, and they have they're playing. They have a lot of confidence in what they're doing right now.
And they're playing at home. And, the one thing that, again, New England has, I think they've played the worst winning percentage of teams, I think, in NFL history when it comes to their opponents. And Drake May, as good as he's been, and I'm not taking anything away from the guy because you still have to do it, what he's done. You have to throw the ball. But
I think you could say the same thing for a lot of these teams that are playing in the playoffs right now. Unfortunately, I mean, you when you look at the teams that are winning, everybody's about 500, and the teams that are in your division are going to probably either help or hurt that. For them, that's probably one of the worst divisions in football. And, they've been able to, go out there and take advantage of that. But no different than when Tom Brady was there.
Well, yeah, and I'm not taking anything away. I'm just saying that like 65% of Drake May's touchdowns have been against either the Jets or a last place team. So all I'm saying is this is definitely going to be a step up in competition when it comes to the Chargers defense because they are really, really good on defense. So this should be a great game. And you're right. Mike Vrabel is, I think, one of the best coaches in the NFL. He also has stumbled some in the playoffs when he coached Tennessee as a 1 seed and whatever. So this, to me, might be the most even matchup that we're going to talk about out of the games this weekend. But
and it might be also, too, I mean, we talk about weather a lot when we're talking.
Yep.
We're talking about experience, with what I've been able to experience, as a player, as a coach, and all the things that go along with that. And this is one of those games that when you start talking about West Coast, East Coast, right, and you start looking at the benefits or the minuses, that not many West Coast teams come to the East Coast and are able to get across that three-hour barrier. Why? Because we're creatures of habit. We're used to having things done at certain times.
That game being at 8:00 at night helps them, right? Still, just like the Rams being at 4:30.
A little bit more, right, than it would. The Rams are going to have the 1:30 game.
Their time. Yep.
This would be like the 4:30 game with the Chargers, but it's the travel across country. It's the wear and tear with, we've all flown on planes, and believe it or not, just that little bit of, lack of, water that we get dehydrated. We get more cramps.
And they won't even be able to have cocktails on the way here like we would. So like that's got to hurt them a little bit.
On the way home, different story.
Yeah, they can't even drink on the way here. Like,
on the way here, but don't be surprised on what you see, on those
on Friday, the way home.
On the Friday plane rides out here.
Oh, just to get here a day early. Yeah.
When you're getting here a day early and you have an extra day to recover.
Yeah.
There might be a little bit of partaking on that.
No doubt.
After the rookies get the chicken and the
and the donuts and whatever else.
Yeah.
Last game, Monday night, 8:15. And I know this is a game you're going to be paying a lot of attention to. The Houston Texans at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh sneaks in with a missed field goal after a great that was actually a great fourth quarter as well. Lamar and Aaron Rodgers both looked like they did 8 years ago with Rodgers.
It looked like they found the fountain of youth for
no doubt
that last 5 minutes of the game.
No doubt. And so Pittsburgh winning the division, much like the Panthers, get to host a game against a team with a better record. The Texans, we all know, have a great defense. I heard Mike Tomlin talking today about their defensive ends and their two DBs, maybe as good as they've been in the league. But Pittsburgh's hosting the game, and Texans play in Houston, and they are not used to this cold weather they're experiencing in Pittsburgh. Aaron Rodgers has been through this a long time.
Get the dome aspect of that.
No question. And so this will be
plays in a dome,
no doubt. 1 of 14.
Right.
Now they're favorites in this game, so they're not. We'll see what happens with 3.5 point favorites. But I've been critical of Pittsburgh all year. I just felt their defense was on or off. Rodgers is not very mobile, although in the last couple weeks, even without Metcalf, he still throws rockets. But with Metcalf, the last 4 games, Pittsburgh's offense was top 5 in the league.
They found something.
They did, and Metcalf not being there, not only with the passing game, but he does a lot of other things, whether it be blocking or creating double teams.
Well, he's going to create double teams.
No doubt.
That's what's going to open up some of these other players. Not having their Washington, their big tight end, also has a factor in that because he was a part of that run when Metcalf was there.
Yep.
You could go that 10 personnel, put him out there at wide receiver, and now you got a 6'8", 330-pound tight end,
basically an offensive lineman
that can move. Right. I mean, so that factors into blocking safeties and corners and secondary guys. They don't want to. They want to try to run around that guy, and it opens up lanes when you do that. So the Steelers are going to have to run the ball for sure. I know we'll probably talk a lot more about that on Monday.
Yep.
After this great little before we get into that, but it's I'm looking forward to it. And the funny thing, the interesting, the ironic thing is that when you look at the field goals, if you kick it in the middle, all right, Tomlin keeps his job.
Yeah.
If you kick it to the outside, all right, Harbaugh loses his job. Right, and vice versa.
Yeah.
If he kicks it in the middle, all right, Harbaugh keeps his job. You kick it to the outside, Tomlin loses his job. And, that was the loser leave town match, and Harbaugh probably going to be the best thing for him, honestly, with his finances.
Well, there's no doubt about that. Yeah,
he's not going to have Lamar Jackson, but I'm sure he'll go to a place that has a pretty damn good quarterback.
We'll do our picks in a second. We're going to finish up with, and Chad Cota was going to join us, but he's stuck on a ski slope somewhere out west.
He's in Oregon. I talked to him earlier. He's in Sun River.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't have great reception. Yeah. Because if you've ever been to Sun River, Oregon, it's out in the middle of nowhere. It's a beautiful place.
Isn't every place in Oregon in the middle of nowhere? I've never been there.
Yeah. I mean, especially where he lives. He's a country boy that loves to go out there and enjoy the outdoors. And I'm sure that, we're going to give him a lot of hell when we get to Cabo this year.
No doubt.
For standing this up. But, I'm sure he just doesn't get the reception out there. Well, might be a snowstorm too. Who knows?
Could be. And he'll be watching tonight for sure, as we will, as Oregon takes on Indiana. Indiana's a -4.5 favorite. They've got the Heisman quarterback. They've got arguably right now the hottest, best coach in college football. They just seem to find ways to win. They've got a great defense. These two teams play earlier in the year. And Dante Moore, who's a great quarterback, he'll probably be the second pick, if not the first, by the way. I mean, this game honestly could determine the first pick in the draft, to be honest with you. Moore had 2 picks the first time these two teams played in Oregon. But this time, Indiana coming in 4.5 favorite after beating Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship, after winning last week against Alabama, where they just rolled them to the point where Alabama was tapping out in the fourth quarter. This should be, and I'll tell you, again, Oregon's a team that I've told you, I'm not sure on their defense. And then last week they played Texas Tech, and their defense looked incredible. The defensive line looked great. Their linebackers looked great. Their freshman corner had 2 picks and a fumble recovery. So they're going to be a challenge for sure. But this should be a great matchup. And look, who can't like Mendoza? He's like the biggest nerd in your school. Except he's 6'4", 6'5", 230, and can sling the ball. I was watching Pat McAfee this week, actually, and he said, we stood on the sideline watching him throw the ball, and I don't know if I've ever seen a tighter spiral on every single throw. The kid just seems like he's just a great kid. And again, I think Dante Moore has a really high ceiling, and so this should be a great matchup.
Well, no doubt about it. And, you talked about Oregon last week versus Texas Tech and how well they played. And, I think there's reasons for that when you understand, how Oregon is built, right? They're going to match up athletically with anybody, right? They're going to be as fast as anybody in the secondary. They're going to be able to break on balls. They have a young player that, probably should have left to the draft last week after, the game that he had. And he's a young.
He can't. He's only a freshman. I know, but he should have. You're right.
Similar to the guy that we saw.
Malachi Tony.
I mean, it's Malachi Tony should leave right now for the NFL. We'd take him right now.
No doubt. But, no question.
That being said, I mean, the matchup that they had suited their personnel. The Hoosiers, they pose such a different threat to everybody because how balanced they are.
Yeah.
You can't take anything away from them. They're as physical running the ball as you're going to find in the country. They're as efficient throwing the pass with Mendoza as quarterback and guys making plays everywhere. On top of that, they have a head coach that's fearless and is not going to take his foot off the gas. He's coming downhill. He's going to tell you where he's coming, and you're going to have to stop it.
Yep.
And that's what separates them from everybody else. When you hear Nick Saban, give them all the credit in the world, they look like the best team in college football last week against Alabama. He wasn't lying. He's seen what good coaches and what good teams look like. He's built. He's
the best coach.
He's the best. He's the GOAT for a reason.
Yep.
And when he's looking at that team and saying they should be the favorites, they are the favorites, and good luck stopping them. There's a reason for that. What Indiana never gets credit for, right? Because the spotlight's on Mendoza, is how aggressive and how quickly they get to the ball on the defensive side.
Yeah.
Watch the game, and you're gonna be able to see rallying tackles to the football. You're gonna see 6, 7, 8 guys in the picture every time an offensive player from Oregon touches the ball. I don't care where it's at. They get to the football. Yep. They're fast, they're physical, and they're in a pissed off mood when they get there. Their defense doesn't get nearly the credit that they deserve. And that's what makes them such a tough out to beat. And
their offensive line, who won the MVP of their last game, is unbelievable. And you brought this point up on Monday, the fact that they're also adults.
Yeah.
This is a bunch of 23-year-old dudes, and Oregon's got a bunch of 19, 20-year-olds, and that makes a difference.
Well, people are going to sit there and say, well, look at the speed and the athleticism of Oregon at their secondary and their wide receivers, and those things are going to factor. Yes, they are. But what if Indiana just decides to run the ball, right? Now I'm going to have 18, 19-year-old 5-star really good athletes on Oregon trying to stop grown men who are 25, 26. And I can tell you firsthand the difference between when I was 18 versus when I was 23.
No doubt.
And it's even going to be magnified greater when I'm 24, 25. Why? Because I have more experience. I have better nutrition. I have
more years in the weight room.
More years in the weight room.
Yeah.
I'll just say it. My nuts drop, right? And so does everybody else. You become more of a man where you have that man strength when you turn 22, 23, 24 years old.
Yep.
Right? You just do. Right? Why is that? I don't know. It's just our genetics, right? That's the way we're built. And, you have more experience. So, that's going to be the thing. Last year, they were in the playoffs. Oregon has a lot of guys in the playoffs last year as well. They were one and done, even though they were undefeated. This is 2 great programs. And what Cignetti's doing and has done at Indiana, might be damn near as good a coaching job as we've ever seen in our lifetime. And when you talk about, the greats of all time in Indiana history, Bobby Knight comes right to everybody's mind as, the greatest. He's the guy. He's the governor, the mayor, whatever you want to call him, the president of Indiana. If Cignetti wins this championship, you might see that shift.
Yeah, and listen, if you pay attention to the transfer portal, which is very hard to do with over 4,000 players in it, Indiana's been racking up whoever they want, so they're not going anywhere. So
if you were a kid and you had a program or a coach to play for right now, right, with what's going on in college football, who are you going to?
I mean, it's him.
I mean, he's gonna be one of the top 5.
And if you're a parent, he's got to be. Who would you want your kid to play for? And there's several others we can name, but Kirby Smart would be great. I mean, but
I think Kirby Smart would be one. Oregon would be one for sure.
Yeah, I love Lanning.
Notre Dame would be the top of a lot of guys' lists. It's the reason why they're getting a lot of ex-players coming there. Obviously, the tradition and history.
Yeah,
I don't think Marcus Freeman did himself any favors, even though it might not have been his call by backing out of bowl games. I think that looked a little petty.
The portal has kind of shown that, although he did have the number 1 recruiting class or number 2. So you're right. We'll see on that.
There's going to be some disgruntled people with the way that was handled at Notre Dame, and them not being in a conference may hurt their chances to extend their playoffs if they don't get into one. But that's neither here nor there. I mean, just when you look at what Cignetti's done, that was the point of this. The question is that who do you want? He's one of them.
Yeah.
And what he's done at Indiana. Now, the challenge is going to be for him is that, Indiana versus Miami, Indiana versus Texas, Indiana versus Oregon, the weather and the girls up in Indiana. And as we all know, the P is undefeated. So it's going to be tough for them to compete with those. But ultimately, he's done an amazing job and built something that's sustainable for years to come.
Well, it's something we probably won't ever see again because with hopefully what the NCAA is going to have to do to stop the wild west that has become college football, it may not be possible to do it to the extent that they're doing it. But I'll tell you what,
they come up with it, he's going to dominate because he has the swag the kids love. I would love to play for him,
no doubt.
I know you would. I know your 100%. He's the guy that hey, we're gonna show up. We're gonna stick it out, and we're gonna see who's the last man standing. And I like our chances.
Yeah,
just Google him.
Just Google him. Yeah. Exactly. All right, let's get to our picks. We're running out of time. Both of us had Ole Miss last night. We lost on that one. Thanks, Carson Beck. Appreciate it.
Well, I mean, that was a great game.
That was a great game.
Chambliss did everything he could, and it was just Miami's defense was just, they just made too many plays. They after the big run with
Lacey.
Yeah, with what he did, he got hurt a little bit. I think that really slowed down Ole Miss's offense because he was out for about 2 quarters, then came back.
Yeah, then they said they ran 26 plays before he had another run.
Yeah. And he pulled that hamstring was very tight. He decided that he could make a run. He got kind of he put that sleeve on his leg and did everything he could, but a little too late.
Well, we both lost that one, but we're going to go on a winning streak now. Right. We're going to start off Indiana, Oregon. Indiana minus 4.5. You go first on this one. I'll go next.
I took Oregon at the beginning of the playoffs because I felt like they had the best opportunity to be here at the semifinal game. I wasn't sure about Indiana and Ohio State or Georgia, and they've done everything they needed to do to get in their position of where they're at. This was the one team that I didn't want Oregon to face, but I'm still ticking Oregon with the points.
All right.
I think it's gonna be a close game. Oregon's gonna be prepared. It's gonna be a fight, but Mendoza's just gonna be too much, and they're gonna kick a field goal late to win.
All right, I'm taking Indiana. I think that Oregon's gonna hang around for a while, but I think second half, especially fourth quarter, Indiana's gonna wear them down. So I'm gonna take Indiana minus 4.5 points. Let's jump to the NFL. I'll go first on this one. Green Bay at Chicago. Chicago laying 1.5. We talked about this game earlier. I think the Packers win this game. I know that they have looked great against the Bears this year already. I know that the Bears offense is dangerous. And like you said earlier with Caleb Williams, especially in the fourth quarter, the dude just makes plays. But I think Green Bay minus Micah Parsons is pretty healthy this game. And they have the experience, right? They've been in the playoffs, I think, 3 straight years, even though they've been the 7th seed, I believe, but they've won one of those games. I'm taking Green Bay on the money line with the points. I think Green Bay wins the ball game.
I'm going to take the Bears for a different reason than you would have ever expected. And Caleb Williams is a part of it, but I don't know if you've ever seen nail polish glow in the snow.
Well, maybe I have. I can't tell that story.
It's easier to find the ball if you're a receiver when it does. And the nail polish that Caleb Williams wears during this game is going to be
he's going to be like the glossy, like silver or
with
pink.
A hot pink.
There you go. Okay.
Hot pink, so you can see the ball coming out of his hand, and that's going to benefit the Bears receivers. Nduze is going to be back.
Yep.
They're getting everybody healthy. Moore is going to be there. They have a good young wide receiver group.
Yeah.
And I think in the snow, his legs and his pretty nails are going to be the difference.
I think I break these games down, and I never even consider the nail polish. You teach me something new every day. Buffalo minus 1.5 at Jacksonville. We talked about that game earlier as well. 1:00 on Sunday. What you got?
I mean, gosh, it's it's hard to pick against teams in the playoffs when they're playing at home. I just did it, with the Packers, and I'm going to do it again. I'm taking the opposite here, with like I did with the Packers, took the Bears. I'm taking the Bills here. Josh Allen, I think, will be the difference maker. The experience that he has, McDermott, their experience. This is their year. If they're going to make a run, and deep into the playoffs, I'm taking the Bills in this one in a close one.
Yeah, I'm with you. I wanted to take
high-scoring game.
I want to take Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence, as good as they're playing. I love their coach. They're at home. But I agree with you. I think the experience factor and Josh Allen. I mean, what else to say? I mean, I think Josh Allen's probably
the player. He'll be the best player on both sides.
Yeah.
And listen, I mean, Trevor Lawrence he looks like the Avatar out there.
Him and Carson Beck might be related.
I don't know. I mean, he's going to ride one of those sea monsters out there, or find a way to get it done. But I don't think it's going to be enough. Him and his Iowa trees are not going to get it done this time.
All right, San Fran at Philly, 4:30 on Sunday. I'll go first on this, and Philly's laying 3.5. I said this a little earlier in the show. I think this is the biggest blowout of the weekend. I think San Fran's defense is not good. I think they're banged up. I think Salah's done a great job this year piecing things together because they have. I mean, their defense has been a lot better than you would think they would be, but they're banged up even more. Trent Williams is banged up. He, maybe arguably the best left tackle ever. And he did practice today, so we'll see if he plays, but he won't be 100% either way. I think Philadelphia rolls. I think this is a double-digit win, and I got the Eagles minus 3.5.
I mean, I don't know about double-digit win. I do think that Philadelphia is going to right a lot of their wrongs during the season. Running the ball, stopping the run. It's not going to be Saquon up the middle, throw it deep to A.J. Brown. They have playmakers everywhere. Defensively, they're going to be physical. They're going to be fast. McCaffrey will get his, but I think, unfortunately, as you point out, they're just too banged up right now on the defensive side. And, even the game's in Philly, which is even more of a reason why. And, going back to the Fangio, difference.
Yeah.
It's just, I think it's too much to overcome but I think it's going to be close. I think it's a 3-point game.
So you're taking?
I'm still taking the Eagles. What's the spread?
It's 3.5. So you have to buy the hook.
I have to buy the hook. I'll still take the Eagles. I think there's more chance of them blowing them out than San Francisco has of beating them.
And last time they played in the playoffs a couple years ago, if you remember, Philadelphia knocked out like every one of their quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I mean, they had to go to the Wildcat. Like the Panthers used to run when we had Chris Winkie or Jimmy Clausen, whoever the hell it was. So I got Philly as well. So we both got Philly there. Last game of Sunday night, Chargers at New England. Talked about this game earlier. New England's laying 3.5. You're first on this one.
I'm taking the Pats. It's a special year, for them. I know Harbaugh is going to have his team ready. I love Justin Herbert. I think he's one of my favorite quarterbacks as the up and coming, guys to supersede or to take over from Mahomes and those guys. He's that next generation of guys, coming in, but they just don't have enough on the offensive side. He doesn't have enough weapons right now. He's lost too many guys. And what the Patriots are doing, playing in Gillette is going to be a tough ask. That cold weather, that plane trip, and that home field advantage is going to be the difference in that game.
Well, I'm going to take the Chargers, and I'm going against all the trends, the 1-of-14s and all those things. I just think that Jim Harbaugh, Herbert, and that defense. I think the Patriots are stepping up in competition this game. And I know that the trends all push against taking the Chargers, but I'm taking them. I got faith in Herbert and Harbaugh.
Makes me feel good because you've been on a cold streak lately.
Dude, the last 4 days, you ain't lying. And I'll tell you what, I think New England's another team. We talk about the Bears and the Panthers that arrived a little early to the party, and they just didn't arrive. They knocked the damn door down. Yeah. So it wouldn't shock me if they take care of business. But I got the Chargers there. Last game, our game.
You're going to talk about this one, the Panthers? Yeah, Saturday.
We're going to pick Houston, Pittsburgh Monday, but Rams, Panthers. We talked about this. It's 4:30 Saturday. Rain, lightning, all kinds of fun things looking to take place weather-wise. Rams laying 10.5. We talked about the game. We broke down the game. We saw the Panthers win earlier in the season, playing almost a perfect game, and they're going to need another one. Who you got?
Unfortunately, Cam Newton's pounding the drum and not playing for the Panthers, right? Because I think he still might give us a better chance to win against the Rams than our little bitty Bryce Young. And I like Bryce. That's nothing against him, but Gary Coleman just isn't going to get it done. And I think the Rams are going to take care of business. I think they win by 17, 34 to 35, 17, something like that. That's 18 points. I know I'm not a math. It's not going to be a 34.
Where's Conrad at?
Yeah, it'll be a 35-17 type games. They win by 18.
Well, I'm with you. I think the Rams do cover and take care of business. I don't think that Bryce is going to be the issue here. I just think our defense is. I think that the Rams have 3 good tight ends, and we struggle with that. And
not just the tight ends; they got 2 of the best receivers.
Well, no doubt. But we played them before and we beat them. But I think that the tight ends are healthy, and I think that that's going to be a big issue. And the experience and all the things we talked about earlier. I think the Panthers hang in there for a while. Maybe the rain makes Matt Stafford throw us a couple more gifts, but I'm with you. I just think that the Rams could win the whole damn thing, and I think that it's a tough matchup for the Panthers.
10 points is a lot.
It's a lot of points.
It's a lot of points, especially on the road. But I think that's how much better the Rams are than the Panthers.
I'm with you. And the fact that we both picked the Rams, hopefully that bodes well for the Panthers because we're usually not right at the same
maybe
time.
Maybe they'll cover. Who knows?
You never know.
Take the Panthers.
Never know. Have a great week. Tomorrow, Saturday with the Panthers. Sunday, we just broke those games down. I mean, this should be a hell of a weekend. It already kicked off with Miami and Ole Miss last night. I can't wait. And yeah, Indiana, Oregon tonight. We'll be back Monday breaking those games down, as well as talking about the Pittsburgh game against Houston, which should be another great game. Have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Be safe. We'll see you Monday.